Welcome back to the Sounds Like Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Henne, and I'm here today with Christian recording artist Howard Gripp. Howard's mother and her side of the family were very musical. She played the organ and sang in the choir at church. And that got passed down to Howard and his brother Bob as they both started playing instruments very early in life. He started playing the drums at 6 years old, and he played music throughout school and through high school. He formed the band Flight at 16 and played in the first bar that same year, and that was the jumping off point. He played in rock bands for years and cut a CD with a record company in LA called Stinger. While originally a rocker, life changed when Jesus came into the picture and God impressed upon his heart to do something more meaningful with the gifts he received. And then he entered the Christian contemporary rock genre. And he is still new in the Christian rock genre, but he is a Christian artist that brings a strong inspirational message designed to touch your soul and let people know that they are not alone. Welcome, Howard.
Yeah, thanks a lot. You don't need me anymore. You got everything.
Oh no, we want to hear it from you. So tell us a little bit more about your journey. And it sounds like you were raised in the church with some faith background and then kind of found your own way back to the faith. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I was raised in a Christian home. My mom worked for the church, lived in the church, breathed the church. Like I said, she played the big old pipe organ and sang in choir and worked in the office. And we were there all the time. And I'm sure there's 5 siblings. I'm sure we all went to church, but I only remember me going to church for some reason. But I'm sure they all went. I'm the youngest, so that might have something to do with it. But so yeah, my first actual playing live was we did Godspell at our church, and I played drums there. So I remember how I was a young teenager at that point. But yeah, and then my brother played in a lot of rock bands, and I kind of looked up to him because he was on the road and he was playing shows, and that's what he did for a living, that and photography. So I kind of looked up to him, and I started playing in some rock bands. I started that first band when I was 16, and kind of got the itch, and then all of a sudden I wanted to be a big rock star, a big famous rock star, and so I went after it. But ended up getting married pretty young. We had children pretty young, so I was trying to work a full-time job while doing music. I did go on the road for a couple of years, and that was tough. Uh, and then I was trying to be a rock star, so I was living a rock star life while still having a family, and it didn't gel very well. It didn't mesh very well. A lot of problems there from choices I made that were not right, and eventually it cost me my marriage, which made me rethink life. Uh, I've since remarried. When I was looking for another partner, I was looking for someone that was strong in their faith because I was strong in my faith till I kind of hit that rock and roll stage and hit 18, and mom wasn't saying get up, let's go to church anymore. So I kind of went off and did my own thing and followed my own direction and followed my own path. And I'd pray, but it was only when I needed something or if I was in trouble, so I knew God was there. I just thought I knew better, so then when kind of everything came crashing down, it was like, all right, I need to get back to my faith. And so when I was looking for a new spouse, I was specifically looking for someone that was strong in their faith that could help me get back to my faith. And I met my now wife, Michelle, and she got me first couple of dates were going to church. So I hadn't gone to church for a long time, so I hadn't seen these new worship bands on stage, and I didn't, I knew Christian music from, many, many years ago, but it wasn't anything like this because our church was all hymns and, up and down, kneel, stand, hymn, So when I went and saw this worship team, I went, wow, because it was a big church. There was probably 600-700 people at the service, so it was a big church. They had 5-6 musicians on stage. I thought, man, that's something. That's something up there. I hadn't played music for a little while, so we went a couple more times, and I thought, I think that's something I want to do. I had heard about that a long time ago and thought, hey, this would be something cool to do, but I never really saw it, never really got the opportunity. And we eventually moved up to Wisconsin Rapids, where I'm at right now, and we became members of a church, which I had never done before. I auditioned for our worship team, which I had never done before, so I'm doing that now. I've been doing that for about 3 years now. Super cool. But when I started that, I didn't know any Christian music. I mean, I didn't listen to it until I met my wife, and she started playing, the message on Sirius XM. then I started listening to songs. So I had to try out, and playing those songs was hard for me because I didn't know any of them. We'd get them on a Friday, we'd practice the following Thursday, and we'd play on Sunday. And it was pretty stressful for a few months. But then I started hearing the songs more, and went to Life Fest a couple times up here in Oshkosh, and that got me a little more familiar with music. And then God I've been playing an acoustic duo for, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 years now. It's all secular music, playing in bars and, outdoor parties and stuff like that. And so that God was saying, you need to do something different with your music. I gave you this gift, and I need you to do something for me now. So I said, okay, I don't know what that is. So I went to Life Fest 2 years ago, and I got pretty inspired and thought, okay, I'm going to do something with my music. But then life got in the way again. And then we went back to Life Fest last year, and I saw Ben Fuller. And apparently God decided I wasn't listening to him, so he was going to use Ben Fuller to talk to me a little bit. So through his music, I saw his performance, very humble, very worship driven. Lyrics are phenomenal. And I wrote my first song that weekend, my first Christian song that weekend. And 2 months later, I recorded my first two Christian songs, which are out on Spotify, which has now led me to, I just finished a full EP in April. That's going to be coming out late June. And that's really what I want to do. I'm trying to start a music ministry to get, the word of God out there, and to get his message out, to have people come to the church. So that's kind of been my journey.
That's awesome. It's so powerful. And, music is such a powerful tool, for ministry. I mean, you get that earworm in your head, you get that hook going,
Yeah.
and it can just go right into your spirit, right into soul. I know that, when I'm kind of having a moment of life,
Yeah.
I'll often turn to worship, and I'll turn to music, and I'm like, I'm going to worship louder than what this circumstance is in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
We're gonna
awesome.
get
Yeah.
it. So it's so powerful, that music ministry. Yeah, and I love how you said that, you used to pray just when you needed something.
Yeah.
And then there was a shift and a change. Can you talk a little bit more about that kind of process of, because I think that a lot of times people kind of get stuck in that, well, when I need something, I go to God.
Right.
And I'm going to pray because I want this. But I think that shift is so important to actually living in the blessings of God and living in God's plan, which is so much better than our plans.
Yeah, for sure.
um,
For sure.
to not just go to God when I want something or need something or I have an emotional response to something, but to really press into communing with the Lord and looking forward to that time with Him. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and your process with
Yeah,
Him?
I think that, that was a battle for me, because I was, and then when you pray for things only when you need them, or only when you want something, and then it doesn't happen, you get frustrated, and you think, well, why am I praying? But it always seemed like when you get in trouble, it's the first thing you do. That was the first thing I did. But, and then when I started going back to church with my wife, it was like, I saw how these people worshiped. And, it's the first time I went to church and I saw people doing this or raising a hand, and it's like, what is going on here? And then I really started listening to the music, and, music's been my thing from, I think, in the womb. So it just started touching me. And the more I listened to the words, and the more powerful it made me, the power in the words and how it made me feel more worshipful, towards God. And the more I learned, the more I was ready to learn, later on in life than I was as a kid, to what it really meant to worship God and to trust God, even when things are bad. You're thankful for the bad things, just like you're thankful for the good things. And trust me, I've had a lot of bad things. and I can tell you right now that if I didn't have God and the strong faith that I have now, I wouldn't have made it through some of the things I've been going through lately, because I've gone through some pretty tough family situations, and it's hard to understand that bad things happen, but look what happened to Jesus. He didn't, he had it rougher than anybody will ever have it, right? So I think about that sometimes when the bad things hit, and hey, why should I not go through trials and tribulations when Jesus did? You know, so I accept those, and with the faith that I have grown with over, I think it was always there, but it was more like I said, I need something, or something's bad's happening. Please help me, And I'm thinking he wasn't listening to me. Maybe he was hearing me, but didn't have that oneness with him. So he was saying, you got to find me. You got to help. You got to ask me back into your life. And that's really what happened. I asked him back into my life. It happened before I got divorced, but I still got divorced. I had some rough relationships with my kids, but things are better now. It's taken a while to repair my relationships with my kids. My ex-wife and I we still talk. We're still friends. We still deal with some of the kid issues, and everything happens for a reason. And I think with faith, I mean, you've got to accept both sides. There's good and there's bad, and you got to accept them both. And I think with strong faith, you can get through anything. I believe that for sure.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And I think that there's key points there too, that there are, bad things that happen in life that we can't control.
Yep.
That, and they don't feel good, but I've come to learn,
Yeah.
it's coming to learn that that those are so valuable to purify my heart. Because what is really in there, that God knows is in there, that I might know is in there, will come out.
Right.
And whatever it is that God wants to work on in my heart and refine and uproot and pull out is going to be what bubbles to the surface. And sometimes I'm like, well, God, I didn't even know that was in there. And God's like, yeah, I did. It's okay. I did.
Yeah.
I saw it. I loved you, and I loved you enough
Yeah.
to do what I needed to kind of have you go through something that you didn't feel good going through.
Right.
Because I love you so much. I don't want that to stay there.
Right.
And so kind of more seeing it as an opportunity than as a real problem, and getting stuck in the problem of it and seeing it as an opportunity. And I think that is key with what you said. Now, the other thing I love that you said is that you said, you're like, I'm taking accountability and responsibility for my choices that led to some other things and dynamics that we are working through, and being perseverant in that, and, believing that there's another side to that.
Yeah.
And I love that, because I think sometimes it can be hard to be accountable for our actions.
Mm-hmm.
And say, you know what, there is another side. Yep, but that's in the past, and we're going to move forward. And how do we find that other side and move forward? And a lot of times it just boils down to a lot of perseverance and grace.
Yep.
It's just perseverance for sure, and
Yep.
faith that God can work wonders.
Yeah.
And he can.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure he can. So a lot of my music is I've gone through trials and tribulations. I've gone through great times too, and I think that is what he wants me to do with my music. I mean, I'm writing songs that are personal experiences to me, right? But I think that a lot of people can relate to. One's about addiction. I have a song about addiction. I have a song about it's called Slip and Fall, where we, even though we're saved and we're strong in our faith, we still fall down. But by the grace of God, he picks us back up. As long as we repent and are truly sorry, he picks us back up. And I've played that for a couple of people that have been in some tough places, and they've said it's helped them out of that. The addiction song is actually for my son, which has been 16 to 18 years of real struggle that I pray for every day. And we have good days and we have bad days, and I thank him for the good days and I thank him for the bad days. It's just eventually he'll come out of it. I know he will, but that's been a pretty strong song for some people. So I really try to write from life experiences that people can relate to, that can, like you said, sometimes when you get down, you listen to a worship song, or you listen to a song and you really let it feel your emotions, and you really let it get you through whatever you're in the middle of. So that's kind of how I try to write.
That's awesome. So powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to put your website up here So what can people find on your website, howardgripmusic.com?
Whole bunch of stuff. I have some merch out there. I don't have my testimony out there yet. I might as well put it out there because I've done quite a few podcast interviews and my testimony's everywhere anyway. So I do have some music out there, a little bit of music. Right now it's just 3 songs, but I'll have the EP coming out. I'll start releasing those in probably early July. I think I put a prayer request on there. If people have prayers, you want to send me a prayer request, I'll pray for you. My schedule, it's not very big. I played my first Christian gig a week and a half ago. Super cool. I did like an hour of my own stuff, and then I met another person there a few weeks before, and we did an hour of worship music. It was awesome, unbelievable. I've done like 2-3 song showcases and stuff like that in Nashville, and we've done some writers rounds up here, but that was my first show, so I really want to do that bad. So I think my music can reach people, and that's really what I want to do. I mean, I'm hoping that I can get more of that. I've got a few gigs lined up after that now, but super cool. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, go check out his music at howardgripmusic.com. I love the testimony. I love your story. I love what you're doing, writing music from the heart to reach other people's hearts, to point them to Jesus and get them out of that place and into a place of worship, into a place where we're focusing on the Lord, because that's always the solution. Always the
Always.
solution.
Yeah.
Jesus. And sometimes it's nice to have a tool and a help to get you there when you're stuck or when you're in that spot.
Yeah.
For sure. So go ahead, check out howardgripmusic.com. Check it out. And I just, pray a lot of blessings over you as you go forth in your ministry, and that it would touch many hearts, many lives, and point many to Jesus. But don't forget to swipe, tap, or click over to deborahhenne.com. Follow me on social on the X, Instagram, or Facebook at Deborah Henne Author. And let's not forget to tune into our thoughts to make sure they sound like Jesus's, so they sound like freedom.